getting close to like a record-breaking appearance, or?
Oh, you have to beat Cam's record.
What up, Mike? Toronto. VK on the beat. Check. I'm in Toronto, where you wanna get a city love. I'm from Toronto, where you wanna get a city love. I'm in Toronto, like we wanna get a city love. My city love me back for my city love. I'm in Toronto.
Welcome to episode 1309 of Toronto Mic'd. Proudly brought to you by Great Lakes Brewery, a fiercely independent craft brewery who believes in supporting communities, good times, and brewing amazing beer. Order online for free local home delivery in the GTA. Palma Pasta. Enjoy the taste of fresh, homemade Italian pasta and entrees from Palma Pasta in Mississauga and Oakville. RecycleMyElectronics.ca. Committing to our planet's future means properly recycling our electronics of the past. Getting hip to the hip. An evening for the Downey Wenjack Fund on September 1st. Save 10% with the promo code FOTM10. Pumpkins After Dark. Use promo code TOMIC15 and save 15% this month at pumpkinsafterdark.com. And Ridley Funeral Home, pillars of the community since 1921. Today, returning to Toronto Mic'd is the prodigal son. It's Stu Stone. What a pleasure it is to see that handsome face of yours, Stu. I'm so glad you're back.
Thank you so much. It's so great to be back, Mike. I haven't seen you since 2022.
The last episode of Toast we recorded was November 2022.
That's crazy. And now
I haven't seen you since.
It's crazy.
How come? I need to know. Why the absence?
Well, we'll get into that in just a moment. I just want to say it's great to be back in the basement. There's been a lot of changes around here. There's been some changes in my life as well. Yes, Gabe Kaplan, Mr. Cotter, welcome back.
Do you know who sang the song?
I feel like I should know.
John Sebastian.
Oh, that makes sense.
He was at Woodstock, but please continue.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to say that it's been a long time coming. Obviously, we've had some false attempts to try to do this, but here we are. This is my first time being on this program without Cam Gordon in probably years. So that's kind of new for me.
Yeah, maybe since 2018, maybe.
Yeah, so that's pretty wild. But yeah, I missed everybody. Obviously, I ran into some FOTMs at a concert a little while ago, and it was just an instant smile on my face.
Was that Tears for Fears? What concert was that?
That was Boy George and Howard Jones.
Gotcha.
But just seeing your face and your haircut, and it just brings a smile to my face. It's great to be back. I've missed these appearances, and I'm back for. Not just a one and done here. We'll see.
All right, I have questions, and then we're gonna catch up. But you were on the road a lot. Like, were you in the States for the bulk of that time?
I was on the road for 195 days.
Wow.
I was on 54 flights. I was in 26 states. I interviewed almost 200 different wrestlers and their family members and friends. In working on the show Dark Side of the Ring, that's where I've been. If it's a secret, it's no longer a secret.
Well, it wasn't a secret. I think we said it loud and proud. But you were directing? What was your role?
The official title is a producer, but essentially it's like myself and a crew of two other gentlemen who operate the cameras. Go down, we travel, and I do the interviews. So like when you watch the show, it's like me asking those hard hitting.
I watched the Adrian Adonis episode.
Oh, that was a good one.
Yeah, because I remembered him and I wanted to learn more about him. And you can hear some Stu Stone. Like once in a while you hear the person asking the questions. And that's you.
And in the Marty Jannetty episode, which I'm quite proud of, which was the season finale of season 4, I'm actually on camera for a rare appearance. So you'll have to watch that one to
Have you ever been on camera before?
No, because it's not that kind of show.
And this is on Crave, right? I don't want to bury the lead here.
It's on Crave.
That's where
Dark Side of the Ring is on Crave, TSN as well. And in the United States, for people who might be listening to this in the States, it is on Vice TV as well as Hulu.
Maybe DJ Lethal is listening to us.
He
in the
could
United
be.
States.
He could be. But yeah, Dark Side of the Ring, season 4 and season 5. Basically, I shot 20 episodes while I was gone. Hey, there's Mace.
You remember this one?
Of course.
I know you like that. How long you been back, man?
It feels good to be back, Mike.
Honestly, I am so glad you're back just because we spent, this. You're not a typical guest, right? Like, Peter Gross, he pops in every, 6, 8, 9 months or whatever. But there was a 76-week period where we broadcast together every single week.
I know.
76 weeks, and that wasn't that long ago. So, and again, I understand you had to go make some money. You're a great producer, and Vice needed you. By the way, does this Vice situation affect you in future seasons? No, good.
No.
Good.
It does not. The Vice parent company and whatever they're going through has no bearing on the television program, no.
I'm glad to hear that. By the way, I'm just checking in on the live stream, and I want to say hi to Al Grego, the cuddly one. He says, he just said, he points out that, his listeners, so he's got the produce stand. His listeners, so I guess people who like Letterkenny also like wrestling.
That checks out.
It's like an Venn diagram of like Letterkenny fans and wrestling fans. It's almost a complete circle there. So he says it's been a year in the making to get you on, but I can't, it's taken me a year to get Stu Stone back on Toronto Mike, so a year does not surprise me. I also want to shout out YYZ Gord.
Yes.
He just says, hey guys. He says 6 months, because Leve says, she was surprised you were on time, Leve Fumka.
That makes sense.
And YYZ Gord quickly says, you're actually 6 months late.
Yes. Well, you know what? It's actually, as much as you can blame my employment, you can also blame Elon Musk for my absence as well.
Explain.
Well, after Twitter imploded and Cam had to go, back out into the world, that limited his schedule as well. And
well, let's not let's dive into that a bit. So the Toast duo was Stu Stone and Cam Gordon.
Yes.
And when we recorded in November, you mentioned you had to go away, but you said something like 6 weeks. Like I don't know how 6 weeks became 6 months.
Because we were supposed to just do 10 episodes, but then it ended up becoming 20 episodes.
Wow.
So that's what happens.
Okay. So you had to go do that and work for a living.
Yes.
Meanwhile, at the same time, I received I don't think this is telling tales out of school because I think Cam's been public about this, but Cam, he basically asked, I don't know if he needed to ask, but he asked if he could stop being on Toronto Mike because he felt he was overexposed, maybe being on Toronto Mike.
I don't know if that was the case, but I think he just needed to refocus his efforts to try to get a gig, get a gig, in which he did. And I think he's coming back on Toronto Mike from what I heard.
When I announced the return of Stu Stone, Cam Gordon did slide into my DMs.
Isn't that crazy how that works?
You know why?
Because Stu Stone brings the people together.
And he knows you're catching up to him. Like the Cam is currently number 1 in terms of number of appearances on Toronto Mike. You're number 2. So if you start coming back and he's still on hiatus, you'll catch him. I
will catch him and surpass him. But I've seen Cam a few times in the last month or so.
So where have you bumped into Cam Gordon?
One of them was planned and one of them wasn't planned, but it's always nice to see him. And I know that he's recently become, MF has made an honest man out of him, which is great. I know that you were...
I was at that wedding.
You were at that simcha.
So you were out of town, right?
Yes, but I love Cam, and obviously I love MF. My love extends to both of them. They seem very happy, and I was really happy to see him. Cam is still as tall as ever. I have some photographs that I could share with you that will blow your mind.
Is it like about the height differential? Okay.
Yes.
Quick, Cable Guy Jeff.
Yes.
That's your guy, right?
That's right.
He says, glad Stu is back.
Yes, and I should also, it would be a crime for me not to plug and mention Cable Guy Jeff's Chapter 3 film that is available free on his YouTube, Cable Guy Jeff Presents YouTube page. Chapter 3 of his series of documentaries, films that he's put together. This one chronicles myself, Jamie Kennedy, Paul Wall, and others as we go to Iraq during the war to entertain the troops. It's a really, really awesome 1 hour watch, very easy to digest. It's
must-see stuff for the Fosses out there.
It's pretty great. I will say that.
When's it available?
It's already out. It's available right now.
Just Google, what's the name of the show again?
You just go to YouTube and just go to Cable Guy Jeff Presents. It'll pop right up there.
Cable
Chapter
Guy
3 is the one you want to watch. You can also go to his Instagram, at Cable Guy Jeff and see, he's got links on there too. But it's a really fantastic job that he did, and it's sort of, I think that his little his big movie contributions are some of the best. It's like the best kept secret on the web because it's really, really fascinating stuff. It's very extensive. The footage he has never been seen.
Wow.
And it's really, really awesome.
Okay, so shout out to Cable Guy Jeff.
Indeed.
We all got to check that out. I do want to shout out the brother. That's not Brother Bill, in case you get confused. This is Brother Neil. Neil says, great question. Will Stu be back to co-host an episode of Toast?
That would be fun. I mean,
I know you're here now, so I can maybe.
It would be like when it's like when Michael McDonald comes into to rejoin the Doobie Brothers kind of thing. Like they've already sort of moved on without him, but he like comes back. Perfect.
I loaded it up for you. Like when I heard you were coming back, I said I had like a few songs. I said I just want to have them in
perfect
case.
Segue. Yeah. But yeah, that's what that would be like. Those guys have done a fantastic job with Toast, obviously.
Rob Bruce and Bob Willett.
Yep. And Basement Bob and Keyboards Rob. Both of those guys do a fantastic job.
So have you, one of my questions is,
I've checked
have
it
you
out.
ever listened to the Coy and Vance version of Toast?
I have. I mean, it's different than the original, that's for sure. These guys bring different personalities and
they're
different
nicer than you guys.
Yeah, they bring different expertise and less obnoxiousness to the table. But it's definitely an informative and entertaining listen. Yes. I definitely was able to kill some time on the road listening to it, yes.
Can I ask a specific question about the most recent episode of Toast? We did the 19th Toast, and I can't remember what your last Toast number was before they took over, but I think it's like half and half almost. So the topic was flower jams, okay, songs about flowers, and it was going swimmingly until Bob Willett kicked out a song
by the Killers.
By Brandon Flowers,
right?
Solo jam. To me, that's the most egregious offense since March of the Pigs by Cam Gordon, or maybe Sound of the Police by KRS-One.
You're leaving out Wendell Clark, Hero of the Day.
Which I still think is a good screen-enhanced jam. So I think that one's okay. But what is your thought on Bob kicking out a Brandon Flowers jam for Flower Jams?
Bob, who was my one-time boss when I was briefly.
Was that a work or a shoot?
Well, that was a work. That was a shoot for. It was a work shoot because it was a shoot at first. But I will say that, like, for the brief moments where he was considering having me be a part of his Kingston radio outfit, I can't disparage the great Bob because he would never disparage me. So I've got his back on this one.
He's a sweetheart. He's a sweetheart.
I will say, though, that, as somebody who once appeared as a youngster, and I'm sure you'll be able to dig this up for your X or Twitter page, but as a one-time spokesmodel for Robin Hood Flower, I maybe would have included a Robin Hood Flower jam. You would have been upset about that, and that would have caused controversy.
That would have been equally offensive, but it would have been fun. Maybe, when I think of Robin Hood Flower, I think about Just Like Mom, because they would give away the... Did you know... I found Fergie Oliver, literally, like, dug him up, dusted him off.
I heard it. I heard you asked him. You asked him if he
if he liked little girls.
I can't believe you did that.
Well, how do I have?
I can believe you did that. Let me rephrase that.
If the Stone Movement podcast or whatever has Fergie Oliver on, could you have a conversation with Fergie and not ask him about that video that everybody shares from the Supercut?
I mean, I could, but you could not. No,
I can't.
No,
otherwise I can't have you on.
Well, this is the home of real talk. And I know that his answer was quite contentious there for a minute.
And then he had this great, like, built up years and years of anger and passion. And the term that he said, and I'll say it here, he said, that cocksucker.
Oh.
And I wish he had used a different term. Like, I know what he was meaning, but he's a baby boomer, so he probably doesn't realize that there's a homophobic roots to the term
Well, you don't know that he means that.
No, of course.
Might not mean same-sex cocksucking. He could have meant hetero cocksucking.
I'm just thinking, yeah, okay. Right, okay, so you're right about that. But bottom line is, love the chat with Fergie, and I just thought of that when you said Robin Hood Flower.
Yeah, and I've told the story in the past, but Fergie Oliver used to live on my street as a youngster.
Right.
And my sister and I thought he was such a celebrity because we watched Just Like Mom, and of course
And
he was
Blue
the Blue
Jays?
Jays baseball guy.
Right.
He, I used to think that maybe he had like a stash of those Chef Boyardee blue baseball bats that you could get.
They were Catelli.
Catelli, sorry, my bad, but you know what I'm referring to.
I love the Catelli.
Can you
bat.
imagine they used to give baseball bats out
I
to
know.
drunks at Exhibition Stadium? But anyway,
That's amazing.
or maybe those seat cushions that they would give out.
Mr. Sub?
So maybe he had some
We
of those.
should name the giveaways and remember the sponsor tied to it. It was Catelli for bat for sure,
Yes.
and it was I think it was Mr. Sub.
Mr. Sub for the
But
seat
there was also the
cushions.
bags. Who was the like? They were kind of like
For the bags.
Who was the bag sponsor? Was that Mr. Sub?
No, that could have been like Loblaws or Dominion.
I think I have one in the shed.
Either way, like we thought like Fergie Oliver's got like the bats and he's going to get us on Just Like Mom. So we would like go knock on the door, run away and hide. We would try to...
Mark Weisblot was on Just Like Mom.
Was he?
And Bob Willett was on Just Like Dad, which was like a special one they did once in a while.
With Sandy.
The bags, I got confirmation from VP of Sales. The bags were Mr. Sub.
bags were
so
Mr.
find
Sub.
out who maybe the seat cushions were Chef Boyardee. Can you
Ridley
find
Funeral
out,
Home,
VP?
maybe?
Shout out to Ridley Funeral Home. They've been pillars of the community since 1921. Oh, Labatt's. That makes sense. of
Labatt's
course.
cushions.
So Labatt's were the seat
But
cushions.
you would think that like because you
Maybe.
remember the
We don't know yet.
White Sox, Chicago White Sox did like that Disco's Dead Day at the park and it turned into like a catastrophe.
They couldn't
famously.
play game 2. That was between a doubleheader, and they had to cancel. They had to forfeit game 2.
And so you would think that like you would have some kind of incident like that when you're giving baseball bats out to like a
Right.
bunch of people at Exhibition Stadium.
And they kept doing it every year.
And also there was sometimes you would do the signed balls. You would get like stamped balls of the Jays.
But they weren't hard balls.
Were they not? I feel
I
like
don't
they
think
were.
they gave away hard balls. That's like a bridge too far, even in the 80s.
You think?
I got to do some homework here. Stu, now that you've settled in, we got reacquainted. I do have a lot of questions and a lot of audio for you, but I need us, if you can change gears for a moment.
Sure.
I want to get serious for a moment.
Okay. Well, don't you want to hear some of the changes in my life? Or
Well,
do you
can
wanna
we
get
do that? I
serious
want to hear about the
first?
changes in your life, but actually, first, I want to play this 40 seconds and then hear from you. Here is 40 seconds of Stu Stone.
Thank you for being my aunt. Travel down the road in Las Vegas.
How did you get this?
Heart is true. You're an aunt and a confidant. And if we threw a party, Las Vegas, invited everyone in my family. Auntie Gary, Dina, brother, you would see the biggest dick is still me. And the card attached to it. Thank you for being my aunt.
Wow.
On behalf of the entire FOTM community, our sincere condolences. I almost feel like crying right now.
Yeah.
Aunt Sandy has passed away.
She did. I didn't. I
don't know, man.
It's sad. It's like that's someone that I thought would live forever, Auntie Sandy and the Iron Sheik, they both passed away, and I felt like they would both live forever. Auntie Sandy, of course, for people who don't know, my aunt, vivacious, full of life, not only my aunt, but a character in the later decade of her life, a social media superstar, and just a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful person who... she passed away since I've last seen you. And it's hard to believe. A year ago, she was here. We were at the casino. Things were looking good. And a year later, you just, she's not here.
How old was Aunt Sandy when she passed?
96. But selfishly, you still want more.
Sure.
You got 96 years from somebody, and it's still like that's not enough. And
Right.
that kind of tells you how... still with it and how much of a part of my life in story she was still at 96. I'm at a loss for words. I didn't, I haven't really had time to really think about it, outside of flying in. I had to leave the road, obviously, come in and do, her service. I delivered a eulogy that I'm very proud of, that, totally crushed. She would have been very happy with it. But yeah, it's it's interesting to reflect back on that now that you bring that up. But and I think about the long-term care kind of places that are in the city or that people sometimes end up in. It's not good. It's sad. And I think like that probably contributed to her like not having the motivation to like keep fighting, because like just living in one of those places was like really just depressing for her. I know that, it's not all bad apples at those places. Like some of the staff is fantastic, obviously, but you got a lot of people that are like underpaid, overworked, and that are getting yelled at by people with dementia and stuff all day. Like, it's just a tough environment for both the staff and the people who live there, and the underfunding, and it's a real problem. I don't know what the answer is there, but I hope that I don't want to end up going in that direction. It's sad to think about, but this is a woman that was so independent till the very end, even living in those places. They'd call us like, where is she? Like she would like sneak out.
Wow.
But yeah, she's definitely missed. And for anybody that has like a loved one that's like reaching those years that's still with it, exactly how I feel. And I feel for you for what's, I hope not to come, but inevitably, Father Time wins this battle 10 out of 10 times.
Undefeated.
And Ridley Funeral Home.
Shout out to Ridley Funeral Home.
But yeah, Auntie Sandy, the legend, the icon, one of my favorite people that has ever been in my life is not here, but she is always here.
You were very close, and anyone who listened to Pandemic Fridays, we did 76 of those, or the early days of Toast when it was Cam and Stu. We spoke about Aunt Sandy all the time. She had a few bouts with COVID, which she
3.
So she went 3-0.
3-0.
She's undefeated.
She's undefeated. No rubber match needed. She also had breast cancer. She also was in a car accident in '88 where she flipped her car 3 times on the road and broke all her ribs. She's a survivor. She's a survivor. And she's been around. You think about 96 years.
Sorry, Pete, I almost said Stu Stone. You're Stu Stone. Peter Gross, I feel, knows her from Woodbine.
Oh, he does. And so does
Perry Lefko.
Perry Lefko, the great Perry Lefko. And Mark Hebscher even knew her.
Hebsy knew her.
But I will say that you think about somebody who 96 years, like what did she see? Like, the birth of television, the birth of technology, Elvis, the Beatles, the wars, World War II. I mean, it's all there. She saw it all. And, I was able to pick her brain about a lot of that stuff. And she still kept up, like, even in her last days when she was having struggles, even communicating, she still was like talking shit about like Kim Kardashian or whatever. You know what I mean? She was on it till the very end.
Wow.
And I want to definitely give some love to the caregivers that did care. There were some caregivers there. Verona is one of the names that I would love to mention. I don't think she's a listener, but she should be. And Juanita, her mom, these people went out of their way above and beyond to make sure that my aunt was comfortable, treated with dignity, and that she didn't go out like a scrub. She went out like a champ. And I miss her. I miss her every day.
Sorry for your loss, as I said. Shout out to Ridley Funeral Home. But Aunt Sandy, what a legend. What a great life. 96 great years.
Yes, for sure.
Should have been 96 more. That would be something else. Okay, speaking of sad deaths, although somebody maybe... I need the story from you, but how did you know the Iron Sheik?
How did I know the Iron Sheik? Well, first off, I knew the Iron Sheik because I was a huge wrestling fan growing up, like myself and Al Grego. We both know the Iron Sheik.
Absolutely.
From being Hulk Hogan's...
Nikolai Volkov and the Iron Sheik.
From being Hulk Hogan's foe.
Right.
But a couple of classmates of mine back in school, these two twins, Gian and Paige Megan, they used to tell me that they knew the Iron Sheik. And I would be like, yeah, right. And one day they came to the bus and they brought pictures of like the Iron Sheik, Nikolai Volkov, and King Kong Bundy like at their dinner table. And I was like, it blew my mind because even though I was already sort of smartened up to the entertainment industry, having been like a child actor already at that time. Right. So I knew like I could watch horror movies and not be afraid already because I knew how it worked. But wrestling,
you knew what an orgy was.
I knew what that was thanks to Cynthia Dale. But I will say that I still was like blown away by the fact that wrestlers were like could be at somebody's house eating like spaghetti. It was like insane to me. So that was my first sort of like, whoa, Iron Sheik. And obviously it was inevitable that I would get to meet him thanks to those guys. I ended up sort of building up a relationship with Sheik over the years. I was part of his documentary, The Sheik, which is available online. I was one of the producers of that. Did a ton of interviews for that movie. It brought him into Las Vegas and Los Angeles many times for different events over the years. As recently as 3-4 months ago when I was on the road for Dark Side of the Ring doing interviews, I always ask wrestlers if they have Sheik stories. They all do. Because I just love hearing them.
Sure.
And so sometimes I would even FaceTime Sheik and like reunite him with some of his old friends as recently as a few months ago.
Wow.
And obviously his social media account on Twitter or X was a classic account that like whenever I could contribute any sort of humor, I would.
So just not to bury the lead there, but were you tweeting from the official Iron Sheik
I was
account?
never, no.
Okay, not you personally.
But I've definitely like, had suggestions.
You've written tweets.
Well, no, I'm not going to take credit for it. I think that all of the tweets are within the spirit of the Iron Sheik. Like it's how he talks. It's how he would say things. And I'm hoping there's a day where we can bring it back, like as an account that's like from the
like to honor him,
like fuck the death.
Right. Who's got that password?
I mean, it's being talked about, and obviously the family. I know the family obviously, and his daughter, and I'm sure they'd be all for it. But Iron Sheik was another guy that like you thought he would just go forever. Just such a funny guy, such a character. Not without his faults, but a guy that has had such an insane life. And there was a recent documentary on A&E. I shouldn't plug it because that's Dark Side of the Ring's competition. Mm-hmm. But they did an Iron Sheik episode, and the Megan twins are all over that episode. So I would encourage people to go and check that out. But yeah, the Sheik, I can't believe he's gone. It's fucking crazy.
Rest in peace. What was his real name?
Khosrow Vaziri.
Cause. Okay. Rest in peace, Cause. Only the good die young, remember? Except for Ann Sandy.
Yes.
I just on the topic.
Any other deaths you want to bring up?
Actually, I do have a couple more, but I want to interrupt our death talk to talk about a different dead wrestler. So whenever I think of WWF wrestling, I think of you, obviously. For those who are tuning into their first Stu Stone episode, please go in the Toronto Mike archives. There's a button at the top of torontomike.com that says guests. Click that, find Stu Stone, go to his first visit. He's the second most frequent guest we have. So go listen to some of those earlier visits from Stu when we talked about you, Stu, and your relationship with professional wrestling, like not just as a fan, but you were actually like a manager.
Sure.
What was the name of that wrestling?
Championship Wrestling from Hollywood.
Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. Okay, so this is an early promo. It's Mean Gene. It's not you. It's not you.
Okay.
But it's Mean Gene Okerlund chatting up Macho Man Randy Savage. And I just pulled a couple of these Macho Man promos because I think he was the best at this. Like, it just takes me right back to when I loved
Cream
wrestling.
of the crop.
Okay, let's listen.
WrestleMania 3 at the Silverdome in Pontiac, Michigan. It's a day that I'm certain my guest at this time will not forget. I'm talking about the former Intercontinental Champion of the world, Macho Man Randy Savage.
Nothing means nothing.
Nothing
means nothing. Man.
Nothing means nothing. What do you mean by that?
I'm talking about all the way to the top, yeah. Unjustifiably in a position that I'd rather not be in, but the cream will rise to the top.
There it is.
Yeah. Macho Madness, has got more to offer than President Jack Tunney thinks that I got. Yeah, and I'm going to tell you something right now. Cards stacked against the Macho Man Randy Savage in WrestleMania 3. Yeah, let me say it, yeah. Let me say it out loud. And let me point to the president of the World Wrestling Federation. The Macho Man Randy Savage is not happy with your decision, yeah. I am the cream in the World Wrestling Federation.
Wait a minute,
and there is no doubt about it, yeah. You, Mean Gene Okerlund, you know that I'm the cream of the crop.
Oh, Wait a minute, though, Randy. I've got to ask you very seriously. Do you blame Mr. Jack Tunney, the distinguished president of the World Wrestling Federation, for Ricky Steamboat being the Intercontinental Champion today?
Yeah, I do, yeah. Outside interference, yeah. In my moment of glory. Yeah, now I'm living in a nightmare. And I am the cream. And now, not only the Intercontinental Heavyweight Championship belt must fall, but the World Heavyweight Championship belt. Because Hulk Hogan, yeah, I am the cream, yeah. The cream of the crop. And there is no one that does it better than the Macho Man Randy Savage. On balance, off balance, doesn't matter. I'm better than you are, yeah. And I'm talking to everyone in the World Wrestling Federation. And I'm even talking to President Jack Tunney, yeah.
Toronto's own Jack Tunney.
Right.
And nothing is going to stop me. Nothing's going to stop me.
You know, just out of curiosity, Randy, and I certainly don't want to diminish your tremendous God-given talents, but I'm very curious. I haven't seen Elizabeth lately.
Yeah, she's on the outside of the ring. Does she interfere in matches? Yeah. Nothing, zero, yeah. Pure athlete, yeah. And I've been, maligned from the top to the bottom. And because they can't handle the Macho Man Randy Savage, the cream of the crop, nobody does it better.
Stu, that's unbelievable.
It really is. And I'd be interested to come on a show where you just like play wrestling stuff and then I like break down the wrestlers.
I would do that.
But
I would do that.
Yeah, Macho Man Randy Savage. Let's just talk about him for a second.
Please.
May as well, right?
Yep.
And Mean Gene Okerlund, by the way. Like, you talk about the greatest stickman in the history of sports, maybe, and that's a big statement, but I believe it. You know, he's a great foil for these guys. He's hilarious. There's interviews with him where he's just as funny as anybody. Just really awesome. But Macho Man Randy Savage worked so hard on this character that, you know, he talked in that voice. That's not his birth voice. No. You know, but it became his everyday speaking voice because that's how committed to this character he was. And you're talking about an improv king. He used to go to these interviews and he would find like a little prop, like a little coffee creamer, right, and then bring it into the interview and make it part of his thing, or a coffee cup, or...
Oh, did you say coffee cup?
Oh, you got that one?
Macho Man Randy Savage, Sarasota, Florida. Come on in. You're going to be defending against the Dragon, Ricky Steamboat. What's the cup for?
WrestleMania 3, Pontiac, Michigan. Yeah, 90,000 plus people watching right there. And this is Ricky the Dragon Steamboat's cup of coffee in the big time. Yeah, cup of coffee in the big time, because he'll never get closer than now. I am the Intercontinental Heavyweight Champion, and I
see what I'm talking about?
The Intercontinental Heavyweight Champion.
How much of this is cocaine fueled?
I mean, this is 1987, so probably a lot of it.
Obviously, he is a factor, or you wouldn't even brought it up.
Oh,
you'd be surprised.
Mr. Sarcasm, yeah. I don't care if you got 23 wrestlers around the outside, and it doesn't even matter, no, because I am ready, and I will not let this opportunity slip through my fingers. Cup of coffee, man, yeah. Man. Wow, man, freaked out.
I mean, I would say, like, you know, Hulk Hogan, obviously, at that era is the champion, and Hulk is an amazing promo, obviously. Well, let me tell you something, brother. Like, you know, he had his whole
Take your vitamins, say your prayers.
Yeah, but Macho Man, what a character, and what a commitment to the character, and what a commitment to his craft as well. I mean, his match with Ricky Steamboat that he's promoting there, not to nerd out here, but
do it.
One of the best matches in the history of WWF, that's for sure. WrestleMania 3. It's like a chess match. Apparently they worked on that match for like months. Like everything was to the T. And in that era, wrestlers would go out in the ring without any rehearsal and just call it in the ring. They would say, like, we don't have a plan. They just go out, feel the crowd, and call it out. Not Macho Man. He wanted to make sure that every single thing was plotted out. And the brilliance of that match, and again, not to nerd out, but you played me Macho Man and I perked up. That match, and this is a sneak preview of what you'll get with me on Al's podcast, but there's so many false finishes in that match where a false finish is like 1, 2, oh, not 3. You know what I mean? Like, you think the match is over, it's not. They did all these little like roll-ups and roll-ups and roll-ups and roll-ups, and how does the match end up ending after everything? On a roll-up. So It's brilliant because they foreshadowed all of these false finishes, and then the match actually ends with one of those finishes. Brilliant stuff, and still to this day, one of the best matches you could possibly watch as far as storytelling goes.
I was all over WrestleMania 3. That was a big fucking deal for young Mike. I'm all choked up because I'm reading Rosie. So hello to Rosie. Rosie, I think, is experiencing Stu Stone for the first time.
Oh, wow.
So
Congratulations.
she says, I am so sorry for the loss of your Aunt Sandy. My grandpa Roger just passed at 96, and I feel exactly the same. He would have loved what you are playing now because he loved wrestling so much.
Interesting. And shout out to Roger as well. I'm sorry for your loss of Roger. I'm sure he was a legend. And that's interesting because for a lot of people, their introduction to wrestling came from their grandparents. My grandmother, she was watching it every Saturday morning, trying to figure out which wrestlers were Jewish. that was my introduction to it. And a lot of people, same thing. Because you know why? Because with the invention of television, one of the first shows on TV was wrestling. And so there's a whole generation of people that were obsessed with wrestling, in Gorgeous George days I'm talking about.
Sure.
One of the
Big
most...
Daddy Siki?
Yeah, Sweet Daddy for
Sweet
sure.
Daddy, I'm sorry. Big Daddy's another guy.
Toronto resident, Sweet Daddy Siki.
Right.
But you know what I'm saying. It's pretty... That explains it.
Exciting news for you, Stu, is that Levi Fumka reports that Juan has yelled from his office. I guess they're both working from home. And his quote from Juan, I missed you, Stu.
I missed Juan as well.
I will say this. There's a big crowd here, more than you'd ever typically get on a Friday afternoon. As YYZ Gord observes, he goes, Stu is a big deal, apparently. I will tell you, this community...
I'm no James B.
You're far bigger than James B.
No, come on.
Are you kidding me?
No way.
You were in Donnie Darko, my friend.
That's true.
And we'll get to... Don't worry, got a lot of catching up to do. I hope you cancel your 4 o'clock here. But I just want you to know, maybe absence makes the heart grow fonder. I don't know. But we got used to regular doses of stew.
You don't know what you got till it's gone.
You don't know what you got till it's gone. Absolutely. You paved paradise and you put up a parking lot. November 2022 was a long time ago.
It was.
And it took this long to get you back. And I just want you to know how much the FOTM community missed you.
I miss them too. And like I said off the top, it is a real community. Obviously, you've built a juggernaut here.
We built this community.
Yes, you've built this community on Palma Pasta.
And Great Lakes beer.
There you go. It's exciting. It's exciting to be here in the basement. And I even saw photos of your kids. They got bigger.
They're getting bigger, man.
Jarvis is no slouch anymore.
He scored 3 goals the other day.
Yeah, he's getting hat tricks. I hope you're paying him $5 a goal.
Oh, don't let him know about that. He does get an ice cream cone. He gets an ice cream cone, but not $5 a goal. That's ridiculous. How is Trudy doing?
Trudy is doing great. She's probably listening right now.
And that's Stu's mom, if you don't know
my
who
mom,
I'm talking
Trudy.
about. I'm going to talk to you like everybody listening has heard you on Toronto Mike 100 times, so pardon me. But
Fair.
Yeah, is Trudy watching live?
She probably is.
Oh, Trudy, I miss you. I just want you to know.
She misses you as well. She's doing great. She's golfing. She's on the golf course a lot.
Wow.
She's making
with Hebsy. He's on the golf course like every day now.
She's not with Hebsy, but she is on the golf course. So if you do spot her, she is single. So if you can approach her, she's making soups, summer soups, which is sounds weird, but it's delicious.
Okay.
She's got spending time with the grandkids. My nieces and nephews. She's running to Costco whenever she can. She loves going to Costco. She's helping out wherever she can.
Does she miss you on Toronto Mike?
She does.
Is that you're just saying that, or is that
No. She's always asks like, what's going on with Mike? What's going on with Mike?
Can I get Trudy to TMLX 13?
Probably,
because it's September 7th, which is a Thursday, 6 to 9 p.m.
I would think so.
Could I get you there?
She's been to other ones.
She was at because you were performing.
Well, what's the deal? You're not having a performance this year.
No, it's going to be lower key, but we're going to get a beer free from Great Lakes Brewery, and we're all going to get fed by Palma Pasta, some delicious Italian food, and we're going to I'm going to have a playlist of songs by FOTMs, but it's going to be more chill. Like we're going to just chat, and we're going to
more of a social, more of a social gathering,
social experience that FOTMs are just going to. Here's the inspiration. I know you've never been to a park TMLX, but
I have. Oh no, I haven't. I've been to an after party.
The after party that's going to happen again. And by the way, everybody, it's 6 to 9 at the brewery, and then we go to the after party in the park and drink beer there. But The park,
which is now legal in some parks.
some parks, I don't think in
Not
this
the ones you go to.
Queensway and Royal York one
Yeah.
it's legal, but and I think they purposely made it so that if your park is on the water, it's still illegal to drink beer. So the good news is the next TMLX event at Marie Curtis Park will still be against the law, because that's what makes it fun, right? Like we're breaking the law. Breaking the law. Breaking the law. Shout out to Midtown Gord. Breaking the law. Breaking the law. Okay, what I'm saying here is I'm taking the spirit of the park TMLX events and I'm going to bring it to Great Lakes Brewery on September 7th. I feel like I'm cutting a promo now. I'm trying to channel my inner mantra man. Oh, yeah. I want to see you. I want to see Trudy. And I want to see Charles Cameron Gordon.
That would be great. I think he's going to go to that.
I hope so. I got to find out when his honeymoon is. I hope there's no conflict.
Oh, that's right.
There's
Yeah.
a honeymoon coming up. But you know what? Cancel that honeymoon. Sorry, MF.
Why did you have to move the date of your TMLX? Is that because you were going camping or
I actually camped last week. I got it out of the way this time.
Camp
you know,
Gordon?
I was planning this all with my contact there, a great guy. Everybody knows him. He's an FOTM. And then there was a lack of communication with the event planner there, because I go back to the days when there was no event planner at Great Lakes, okay? You just now that there's an event planner, we didn't loop her in, and she booked a charity event at the same night. And I could have probably flexed some Toronto Mike muscle and I could have got that charity event booted, but I didn't want to be that asshole who moves the charity event for his Toronto Mike listener experience. So I decided
Wow, that's not typical of you.
I'm a changed man.
Yeah.
I've had health
You're not the
scares.
asshole you used to be.
You were here in November. I've had blood clots. I got a whole thing going
Really?
on. Yeah, I had a blood clot on my brain.
Really?
Really, in March. See, you are really out of the loop,
Yeah,
Stu.
tell me
You are
about
out of
it.
the- Well, in a nutshell, because I feel like most listeners have heard this boring story already, but
Is that?
I had a headache for 4 days.
But what was that from?
Well, that's the question. So I got the.
I already know what some people are going to say, but go ahead.
Yeah, well, so long story short, if that's possible at this point, is I got diagnosed with a blood clot on my brain because I saw it on the CAT scan when I went to emergency with the headache that would go away. And they put me in, I actually had to spend the night in the stroke ward. Because
Holy
apparently
shit.
I never had a stroke. Eventually on blood thinners over time, my brain absorbed the blood clot and I no longer have the blood
Wow.
clot. But they took me off blood thinners because they couldn't figure out what caused that blood clot. And I don't know if they thought it was like a 1 in a million thing or something. But then I got another blood clot, but not on my brain this time, in my right arm. But the doctor's like,
How did they find that?
I went into emergency because I had a elevated vein right here in my right going to my elbow that was super like tender and painful, and it made it feel like a deep bruise. So once I felt like this, what's going on here? I said, "Oh, Mike, you had a blood clot in your brain in March. A few months later, you've got a painful vein in your arm. You should go to emergency." And they did a what do you call that? Ultrasound, and they saw that it was a clotted blood clot. Long story short, this is where we're at. I take blood thinners every day because something in my body is causing blood clots and they can kill you. So I take
Holy
I
shit.
take blood thinners every day, and I have to go back to hematology so they can figure out why does Toronto Mike have veins that get clotted with blood.
Ridley Funeral Home on standby.
Brad Jones is ready. He's warming up the hearse. He's ready.
Do you have
my
like
goodness.
a will where you leave all of this universe to somebody? Like,
Oh, the Toronto Mike's universe?
does that go to me or?
That's a great question.
I feel like I could do a pretty good job hosting.
What
if
is
something
the
happens
succession?
to you.
Succession's over now.
I don't know
Maybe
if
the
Jarvis
news-
can host. I don't know.
I got a 21-year-old ready to come in here, but that is a great question. Succession plan for the TMU, the Toronto Mike Universe.
I'm really sorry to hear that you went through that. I'm sure
Yeah.
there's probably some people listening that are probably speculating of what's causing that, and I don't want to get into that, but I'm sure there is.
There is many. What causes blood clots? The hematologist already tested for all the main disorders that cause blood clot. The other scary thing to say is the other thing that causes blood clots is cancer. So they've been checking me
that's
for
not where I was going.
Well, they haven't found that yet. I'm happy to report.
Good.
And they're checking in all these different places. They're still checking. There is a wild card at play. The wild card is that as you know, I got COVID. And we're still new in this like COVID world where what happens when you get COVID? We're still learning and studying and everything. So possibly me getting COVID has made me get blood clots, but this is all speculative and we're still investigating.
Wow.
And now I bored myself with
No.
that story. Everybody's left the live stream.
I don't blame them, but you're still here. Mike, I'm sorry that you went through that. I'm happy that there's a happy ending there. You must have been pretty
I'm
scared.
alive and I feel good.
Were you scared at any point?
Yeah, I was scared when I was told I had a blood clot on my brain because what the fuck does that mean when the doctor sits you down and says, this is very rare, but you have a blood clot on your brain? What does that mean? Like, are you going to crack me open my skull and do something to my brain?
Could you go for like a physical and detect that, or you have to have a headache? Like there has to be some.
It was found on the CAT scan. Like they don't just, no one in a physical does a CAT scan of your brain, right? Like they only did the CAT scan because I had a headache for 4 days, and my doctor sent a rec form to emergency and basically said, would you please check my patient's brain for bleeding? Like she thought I had a brain bleed. Like it's literally my doctor told the ER doctor to fucking.
Didn't you have a bicycle accident at one point?
3 years prior, and I have a neurologist now. I have all these doctors looking after me, but the neurologist doesn't think you could have the bike crash in March 2020 and then get the blood clot in March 2023. He says that's not how it works. Like so, he does not believe that's the cause. Leslie is on the live chat, and she's one of those great FOTMs who saw you at Howard Jones a few weeks ago.
Good segue. I did see Leslie, lovely Leslie, at the Howard Jones show.
Meter maid.
Again, just to shut the chapter on that.
Don't try to live your life in one day.
You're definitely not. Although, in your case, maybe you should. I will say that I'm sorry that you went through that. It's scary to me because I was going to tell you about some changes in my lifestyle.
Now I'm ready to hear I wanted to cover Aunt Sandy and see how Chudy's doing, and now I'm ready to listen to changes in your life.
Well, it's kind of scaring me to bring this up now because now maybe we need to talk about this further.
Blood clots?
Maybe.
Whoa.
Maybe.
What are you talking about, bud?
Well, let's talk about it.
Let's talk.
So when I was on the road 195 days, there's not much to do in a lot of these places. You know, these small towns, a lot of these are, these wrestlers live like out of the way, some of them.
Right.
And their family members, are from places you've never heard of, right? So like the one thing for like the first 3/4 of my journey on the road that I would find in every city was a barbecue place in a bowling alley. So we were doing a lot of barbecue eating and a lot of bowling.
Right.
Eventually even that got old.
Like Homer Simpson.
And, at these Marriott hotels that we would be staying at, one thing that all of them had in common was they had a gym. And some of these other guys, the other guys that were on the crew, they were constantly going to the gym. And I thought, maybe I'll just go check this thing out. And I went to a store and bought a pair of Hoka shoes. Do you know what those are?
No.
Hoka, Hoka. Some people pronounce it hookah. Hoka shoes. The most comfortable things that you could ever put on. Not stylish at all. Like they're not social shoes, even though you would probably wear them out because you don't give a shit.
I don't give a fuck.
But these are very comfortable shoes to the point where, like, if you're going to do any kind of exercise, I would say these are probably the best ones.
Is this a sponsorship?
It's not.
Okay.
I paid full retail. It's not very not very Jewish-like. I paid full retail for these shoes. No sale. And it ended up being like a life-changing thing for me because like I got on a treadmill for that first day. It took me, a half hour. I did like a mile and I was like, this is crazy. And now you're talking about, that's 90 days ago. I'm now almost at 3 miles in 30 minutes and I'm like on the treadmill and I'm like, I'll tell you what.
You're exercising.
I'm exercising, which is if anyone knows.
You look good.
Thank you. But I will say, very much a work in progress, and there is some humor to inject into this story. First off, for people that know me well, they like don't even believe it because it's just like, come on, he's really doing that.
Right.
But I will say this: going outside in hot weather and sweating, that's just sweat. Or like the air conditioner doesn't work, or you go into a steam room or whatever. That's just like you're schwitzing, right?
Right.
But when you're doing a 30-minute workout or whatever it is and you're dripping sweat after, that feels good.
Yes.
Like you worked for that
preaching
sweat.
to the choir. Yeah.
You worked for that sweat. And it's almost like an addictive high of like, that is just like, I'm pouring with sweat and I feel like, I achieved something here.
You earned that.
Yeah. So that's the first thing.
Okay, so
But
you committed to getting fit. You're in great shape.
Yeah, well,
3 months is a great
Well, here's
start.
the thing. After not doing any sort of physical activity for like 20 years,
Yeah.
you can't just like flip a switch and now you're an athlete. So I had a couple setbacks. So on my treadmill adventure, like I thought one day I'm going pretty good.
Yeah.
I'll turn it up, from 4 to 5 and from 5 to 6. And now I'm at 6.5 and I'm running. And all of a sudden my knee's like,
your
shit, that hurt.
knee.
And I'm like, okay, turn it down. And I'm like, just because think I'm an athlete, you
Right.
can't just go to 6.
And running's tough on knees.
You have to work your way up to a 6. You know what I mean?
Right.
And you can't just be running for 2 weeks and all of a sudden you're on a 6.
Right.
So I learned a valuable lesson that day that it's going to take me some time to get to that point. But I will say that I do recommend, I have my own little routine. I probably need to like consult with somebody who actually knows what they're doing so I don't injure myself. But I can tell you what my routine is.
Tell me.
If people want to play at home.
Yeah.
Or do the same at home, whatever. I do a 35-minute on the treadmill that ends up being over between 2 and 3 miles, we'll call it, depending on how things are going that day. But 5 minutes of that is a warm-up and a cool-down, right? There's like 2 minutes to warm up.
Sure.
And then there's like a 3 minute like cool down where you're like basically like standing in place because
Right.
and at first, when I first started doing this, my heart rate was going up to like 170, 180. And now I'm 120, no problem. Like it's like funny how your body is so incredible that it knows what's up. And then I have these like sort of back exercises that I saw on Instagram that I do.
Yeah.
Where one of them is like, you do this for 25, you do this for 25, you do this for 25.
Sure.
And then I started doing 1 push-up. And then the next day, 2 push-ups, 3 push-ups. Now
Wow.
I'm on 21 push-ups.
You know where you're heading. You're heading to Peter Grossland where he can do 100 push-ups.
Well, that would be something. And I even like wash my clothes, which is, shots fired.
He's a fellow FOTM Hall of Famer.
He's the
you
best.
watch yourself.
I'm talking about like
Watch
after
it,
I
buddy.
work out. I'm not saying he doesn't. I'm saying like after I work out.
Also, he's going to pop in and surprise. I have a 680 retrospective next week. And
First of all,
I'm gonna
Peter
sneak
Gross
him in.
is a fucking legend.
Yeah.
Okay,
Let's get that straight.
Yes, and
You watch your mouth about the great Peter Gross.
I'm not dissing him at all. But I will say this, that your little thing kind of scares me because I've noticed after an intense kind of running thing, I'll look in the mirror and there's like on the sides of my legs, there's like some kind of like lump that shows up. And I don't know.
How big is this lump?
Like they're just like, it's on both sides, which leads me to believe that it's less of an issue. But I don't know what it's from. I don't know what it is.
Does it go away quickly?
It goes away like one side.
I don't think that's not blood. Blood clots don't go away that quickly.
Okay, good.
No.
Phew.
But, blood clotting is something you don't even consider until it's something you need to consider. So it's
Yeah.
one of those strange... I mean, I never thought about a blood clot until my
'cause
4-day headache.
But you exercise like crazy.
Like, that's the thing. I exercise like crazy. Every single day I get that sweat on you're talking about. But I do it on a bike. And I will say, just to point out, you're running, and that's great and all, but running can fuck up the knees. You might want to join the Juan and the Mike club where we bike, because it's just better on the knees.
Maybe.
But you don't have to bike the streets like I do, because I know Juan, he just uses his app and he's on his
Peloton?
stationary. Yeah, I believe so. He does his stationary rides or whatever, and he gets his sweat on that way. But I'm just here to say you might be a future cyclist.
It could happen. You never know. But also, I feel like Juan is just like a very handsome, sexy guy. He's got lots of tone and
he's pretty
definition. I'm.
He's going to be at TMLX 13 on September 7th.
Well, consider me there. But Juan is an inspiration. I have a photo of Juan up in the gym there. That's what I aspire to be.
It's not a Peloton. I'm getting corrected here. It is just a bike trainer.
Well, he makes it so people think.
But it works for him.
Yeah. But anyway.
Oh, you know who can help you? Leslie. We just brought her up, but she points out in the live chat.
So maybe Leslie
she's a certified triathlon coach.
So maybe she can explain
Can
like
you swim?
these bumps on my legs that sometimes pop up.
But that's the kind of stuff people typically bring to their family doctor. Do you have a doctor?
That's something that my mom is trying to get me to do.
Because I've had a couple of things now, but like I can get a Zoom with my family doctor the way I'm set up with.
Well, because now you got the blood clots and everything. Now you're like a VIP.
Although, yeah, I guess I go to the front of the line now. It's like this guy's gonna die. We have to save Toronto Mike here.
How long did you have to wait in the emergency room, by the way?
I feel like it was about an hour before the doctor saw me, where he kind of laughed at the notion I would have brain bleed or anything. He goes, it's probably a migraine. He goes, but I'll do this CAT scan to make your doctor happy. And then another hour before I did the CAT scan, and then another hour before the doctor pulled me in the room to apologize that he was very wrong and this is very rare, but I have a blood clot in my brain. And then maybe one more hour before they said, you can't go home. I biked there, right? So my bike's locked. I was like, you can't go home. You're going to be admitted to the stroke ward at St. Joe's.
Did you end up fraternizing with other people in the stroke ward?
I'll tell you this. I had to share a room with a guy. There's a curtain between us. And that guy in the middle of the night took off his diaper and took a big loud piss on the floor. And I'm in this dark, I'm just like, oh my God. I'm like, I hope there's like buffer between me and this guy's piss. Like, I don't know, is this piss going to roll on the floor and get under my, I don't want to sleep.
That's quite graphic.
Yeah. And this whole ward, the nurse was, loved me because she said I was the only patient in this ward who
has a
mobile.
podcast.
Yeah. Maybe that might not even be true anymore. A couple of those old timers had a fucking podcast, but everybody needed assistance to move, like even to go to the washroom and walk around and get.
Oh, because these people actually have had strokes.
Yeah, I was
you're
there
like a
because
potential
he said
stroke.
I was in imminent danger of having a stroke, and I talked my way out. They wanted me there for 4 or 5 days. The next morning, I felt fucking great, and I had work to do. I think I had a running things of Donovan Bailey. I had shit to do, and I talked my way. I said, look, if I have any pain, I'll come right back. I said I can be here in 15 minutes, and they dismissed me after one night. But
how is it that you felt better? Was there some medicine that was given to you?
So it's amazing. I'm glad you asked. So they gave me this needle and these pills, and I didn't even really catch what I was getting, but I said, what is that? And then the nurse said it was some kind of steroid. But whatever they gave me, this needle and these pills,
well, Mike's used to those.
The pain went away for a few days, but then I go home, right? So I'm home now, and I'm taking my blood thinners, and I'm following up with all these doctors. And then the headache comes back, and I went straight to emergency thinking that this means this is bad news. And then the doctor goes, you have a blood clot on your brain, and headaches are part of this. And I had that headache. You ready for this? I had that headache for I can't remember now, but about at least 6 weeks where I had constantly this headache. And then it just went away, and I haven't had it since.
That's good to hear.
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Okay.
Yes. So the moral of the story, if anybody out there has a headache and it's not caused by the sound of our voices listening to this,
don't fuck with that.
You should probably go and get that checked out.
I waited 4 days, Stu. 4 days because I'm an idiot. And all 4, I kept thinking, what is this? And I'm Googling it. Like, what the hell is this compression headache I have for 4 days? And then finally...
Were you taking Tylenol or anything?
Like crazy. I was
did it work?
I thought maybe it was helping, but not really. I don't know why I waited so long, but I even lived my life normally during that 4 days. Like I did all my bike rides. I went for a swim. Like I'm living it.
Rolled
I just
around
have
a little.
and I even recorded there's episodes of Toronto Mike where I have this killer. Hopefully it doesn't kill me. Anyway, enough about me, Stu. I feel like I'm hogging all this time. So much to catch up with you on. Are you a Tragically Hip fan, Stu?
Sure. Who isn't?
Great question. Someone, Brad Jones from Ridley Funeral Home told me he's not a big Hip fan.
Wow.
And I almost shot him dead.
He's more into death metal.
Very good, Stu. This is the kind of humor we missed on Toronto Mike. I have some nice comments that came in from people when they heard you coming on, but I'm going to get to that in a moment. I want to tell you about getting hip. There's a poster on the wall actually about this. Getting Hip to the Hip, an evening for the Downey Wenjack Fund. We're going to gather September 1st at 7:30 p.m. at the Rec Room downtown. And we're going to see a Tragically Hip cover band. We're going to witness a live recording of Getting Hip to the Hip. This is an evening for the Downey Wenjack Fund, so it's for a good cause. Jamie Dew, he's a good FOTM. He's organizing this. I have a promo code that'll save everyone listening 10% on their ticket. It's a reasonably priced ticket anyways. So just go to gettinghiptothehip.com. Buy yourself a ticket or 2 or 3 or 4. Come to Getting Hip to the Hip on September 1st. You save 10% with the promo code FOTM10. That's FOTM10. Be there. Is that a good promo?
Pretty good.
Did you ever go to Pumpkins After Dark? You've been around for at least... did you ever make your way to Milton to experience this event?
Well, I used promo code Mike and I was able to save some money.
Did you go? No, but for real, I know you.
I've been to
a shoot. I never know what's going on.
I've been on some of those like pumpkin patch hay rides, haunted hay ride type of things. They're fun.
Okay, well, this is similar to that, but way better.
Yes.
So, Pumpkins After Dark. It's September 23rd to Halloween. If you get your tickets now in the month of August, you save 15% with the promo code TOMike15. So go to pumpkinsafterdark.com and get those tickets. This is a kick-ass event. Your kids will love it. Your aunt will love it. Your grandma will love it. Your lover will love it. Pumpkins After Dark. Welcome back to Toronto Mike.
Pumpkins After Dark used to be like an Ed the Sock special on City TV back in the day also.
Have you bumped into Steve Kersner lately?
No, but his name has come up.
Your name came up when he came on my show recently.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Did you guys have was there ever any friction between you, or has it all been a better?
No, there was never friction that I knew of.
Okay.
Why, was he saying there was
No,
friction?
he thought you might have been ghosting him on some, maybe a documentary idea. I'm guessing he wants to talk to you about doing some kind of an Ed the Sock doc. That's my guess. But I feel like
that.
You might have missed an email. It might have gone into your spam. There might have been an Ed the Sock email to Stu Stone.
Yeah, well, if Ed's listening or Steve is listening, I will say, or both, definitely no ghosting on my part.
Not intentionally.
No, I
didn't think so. I told him that. I said that to him.
Nothing but love for Steve.
I said that to him. I said, you love the guy. And of course, you'd reply to every and any email sent to you. So maybe it got filtered out or something. Or maybe he thinks he sent it and it's in his outbox right now.
We'll go with that.
Go with that. Hey, speaking of characters, beloved characters, I want to play a little song and then talk to you about this guy. And then I have a fun fact for you about this song. Here
sure.
We go.
Oh, okay. Little Pee-wee.
I always like this preamble. Like this is like a mood setting. What do you call that? Epilogue.
Forward.
Prologue? One of the logs here. From 1987. I think it was 87. Here we go.
It's amazing how much screen time they used. Like every week, 2 minutes was just this. Do we know who's singing this?
Yes, that's one of my fun facts. Who do you think's singing this?
Like the girl that's like, Ghostbusters, can I help you?
That's a good guess. This person who's singing the song, doing like a Betty Boop impersonation, this person has a great history with WWF wrestling.
Cyndi Lauper?
This is Cyndi Lauper.
Holy shit. Yeah, that does sound like her now that you mention it.
Who do you think composed this song? So we know Cyndi Lauper is singing this great song. Who composed it? Do you know that? I got the fun facts for you, Stu.
Is it Dave Wolf? Her longtime boyfriend? Is it the guy from... it's a guy from a band. Is it Danny Elfman?
No, that's a fantastic
Boingo Boingo?
guess. That's a great guess because he did the Pee-wee's Playhouse music. But it's Devo's own Mark Mothersbaugh. I hope I say it right, Mothersbaugh. But the guy from Devo is the composer of this song. And yes, this is Cyndi Lauper singing this theme song.
That's amazing.
Did you ever meet Pee-wee Herman?
I wonder if I did. If I did,
you wouldn't forget meeting.
No, I mean, if I
Paul
did,
Rubens?
it was probably just in the same kind of place as him, but like never went out for like a dinner with him or anything like that. But certainly was a fan of the movies and of the television show Saturday Morning. And I know I have some friends that were on the show. One of my friends, Allison Porter, who was she played Curly Sue in the Curly Sue movie. We've talked about her before. She ended up growing up to win The Voice on NBC a few years ago.
Right.
But she was a kid. One of the, they had like a cast of a couple kids that would show up at Pee-wee's. She was like the little girl. So she would be on. She was on Pee-wee's Playhouse a bunch of times, and I know that she was pretty heartbroken by this. Pee-wee is an incredible story with highs and lows, obviously. You never want to get too famous, Mike, because, the higher up on the mountain you get, the harder the fall can be sometimes. And for Pee Wee, there was like a pylon for Pee Wee. That fateful afternoon or evening, whatever that was, when he was trying to mind his own business in an adult theater. But I don't think that should be his legacy. I think that
God, no.
But the fact that he did a kids show wasn't helpful. But I will say that much like Randy Macho Man Savage, who we spoke about earlier, Paul Rubens' commitment to this character was much like Randy Savage's, and it was like almost like a 24/7 kind of thing. Someone like Andy Kaufman probably would have loved Pee Wee, just the commitment to Pee Wee, to the point where people called him Pee Wee Herman, the same way that someone would call Randy Savage, or Hulk Hogan, and not their birth names. And then Pee Wee ends up showing up in other places afterwards. He was in the movie Blow. And
Edward Scissorhands.
Edward Scissorhands. He shows up. I think he was on one of these kind of Just Shoot Me type of shows, or Spin City. One of these kind of shows he was on. Caroline in the City. I don't know. One of those.
Veronica's Closet.
Sure, that's the one.
While you talk, I'm gonna actually find out what show he was on.
But
I didn't watch whatever show
he's
he was
on. One of those, one of those shows.
Right.
But Pee Wee is the thing that people will remember the most. Secret word of the day and all that. Very inventive, very charismatic. Everybody dressed up like him at Halloween for a couple years there in a row. And, you think of the 80s and you think of some of the big characters of the 80s. Pee Wee's right there. I would say Mr. T, Pee Wee Herman. I don't know where you go from those two, but those are the two biggest ones I could think of. But Pee Wee is... that's crazy. And he had a private...
I loved Pee Wee's Big Adventure so much. Watched it so many times. I mean, Large Marge, tell him Large Marge sent you. That scared the shit out of me.
Everybody was scared by that.
Loved it. And I loved Pee Wee's Playhouse. That was appointment viewing for me.
And of course, Tim Burton
Yeah.
would go on to...
that was his first movie.
Yeah, would go on to be one of the most prolific storyteller filmmakers ever. But yeah, Pee-wee gone. That's sad.
Super sad here. I'm
and I know he had a private battle with cancer, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, 6 years. And did not disclose it publicly.
Yeah, and that's like not the first celebrity that we've heard of in the last little while that, you know, passes away, and we're like, wait a minute, they had cancer for this long and we didn't know about it? Like, that seems to be a thing now where people don't want the sympathy, or they don't want...
Neil Peart did it.
Yeah.
Of course, Norm Macdonald did it.
Yeah, Norm.
Right. Fuck, I can't believe Norm's gone. Moose Grumpy has taken a break from her road trip to say, hey, Stu, miss ya.
Yeah, I miss Moose Grumpy as well.
Well, you can see her on September 7th at TMLX 13.
There you go.
VP of Sales is saying his 30 Rock episode was the best. So I guess there's a Paul Rubens 30 Rock episode.
And of course, he appeared in WWE a bunch of times in the wrestling world.
Right.
As Pee-wee.
He was in Mystery Men with Ben Stiller and William H. Macy. I just learned that from VP of Sales. I've never seen Mystery Men.
Prolific career.
Man. And so I was sad to learn that Pee-wee was gone because I had such fond memories.
But I'll tell you what, like, you know, I did bring up that scandal that he had. But it just goes to show you that, like, you can. Everyone loves a comeback story.
But I feel he took the entire decade of the 1990s off.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But then he came back.
That's quite a period of time that we put that guy in the fucking penalty box.
Well, it was a kid show, Mike. So, like, that, you know, sponsors not really wanting to touch that. It makes sense. It was just bad timing or bad, I don't know, buy a fucking VCR.
Is that like when Stephen Page got busted with coke and hookers when they were releasing their children's album, Bare Naked Ladies?
I don't know if it has the same magnitude as that incident, because Pee-wee is like a household name and Bare Naked Ladies are more of an ensemble. But yeah, America loves a comeback. Pee-wee was able to overcome it. And in the last years of his life, he even was touring as Pee-wee Herman again, doing like a live.
And he had that movie on Netflix.
Yeah.
The holiday one. Yeah, fucking miss Pee-wee. Do you know this jam?
Sounds familiar. head.
This is Matt. This is Mandinka. And this is the album before the big one. So the album before I Do Not Want What I Haven't Got, which had Nothing Compares to You. This is called The Line of Cobra. This is Sinead O'Connor.
Yeah.
Mandinka. So she wrote this song, unlike Nothing Compares to You, which is, of course, a Prince song, although she made it her own. But we lost Sinead, and I just thought it was interesting to lose Sinead O'Connor and Pee Wee Herman so close to each other, because they're both kind of people we put in the penalty box for kind of bullshit reasons. Like, I always felt bad that Pee Wee was put in that penalty box for so long because of what he did. And Sinead O'Connor got put in a penalty box for ripping up a photo of the Pope on Saturday Night Live. I just wondered what Stu Stone thought of Sinead O'Connor.
Well, we have the same hairstyle. I mean, listen, Nothing Compares to You was... you couldn't get away from that song when it was at its height. And, you know, she was definitely a trendsetter with that shaved head. Like, she was a beautiful woman. You know, even with that shaved head, it was new for people to see that. Definitely made her stand out, that's for sure. But yeah, Nothing Compares to You is a great example of someone doing a cover of a song and making it their own to the point where people don't even remember there was an original. So, you know, shout out to her.
Was there an original? I mean,
there's a Prince version of it.
But it wasn't like on an album.
I'm sure there was some form of it. Well, he performed it live in 1982 or 3 or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's a Prince song.
Well, he wrote it, for sure. But he also wrote, like, Manic Monday, right? But I don't think there's a release of Manic Monday.
We'd have to look into that.
We'll have to look into this. VP, get on that.
But, you know, Shaka Khan, I Feel For You, Prince definitely recorded that prior. But anyway, a lot of Prince songs from his first album were, like, recorded a million times. I think the Pointer Sisters covered some of his stuff, too. Anyway, back to Sinead O'Connor. She had a moment that was as big of a moment as anybody. And... you know, I think that she used her popularity to try to get serious, and it may have backfired on her. Ripping up a picture of the Pope, probably not the best thing to do on Saturday Night Live if you're a regular person, but Sinead O'Connor, not a regular person, and
that's a punk rock move,
yeah,
right?
That's what I'm saying. Somebody that wants to use her platform to try to make a statement, and it worked, because that's a statement that was heard loud and clear. We didn't hear much from her in America and Canada after that. I know that she still remained popular overseas, but yeah, obviously a tough loss there. And we're getting to that age, Mike, where they're dropping like flies. The Ridley Funeral Home is in business for a reason.
We're losing Gen X icons. This is what's happening. And Pee Wee and Sinead O'Connor are two examples of Gen X icons.
We're also learning more and more that, like, the Gen X icons are not without their flaws. All of them. I mean, I can't think of one that's perfect. Pee Wee and Sinead are definitely examples of that. I point at guys like Hulk Hogan, who had troubles, and Bill Cosby, obviously. And
did he have troubles too,
heard.
Stu? Wow.
But, you know, there's other ones, I'm sure, that I'm leaving off the short list here. But yeah, these guys and gals were not without their faults. They're human beings, and people fuck up, some worse than others. And I'm not suggesting what Bill Cosby did was categorized as a fuck up. That guy's a monster. But, you know, Sinead O'Connor, maybe if she doesn't rip that picture, we're getting another, you know, a couple years out of her popularity.
Commercial success.
Yeah.
Right. Critically successful.
Maybe if
all
Pee Wee doesn't decide to go to that theater that day, we're getting a couple more seasons of Pee Wee's Playhouse.
For sure. Cam Brio wrote a note when I said you were returning to Toronto, Mike.
Cam Brio.
So Cam Brio, in my humble opinion, might be the biggest foss on the planet.
He might be.
Friend of Stu Stone.
Yes. I love that guy.
So when he heard you coming on, he just tweeted at me, Stu. I think there's like 5 or 6 U's in there.
As one would spell my name.
He is definitely tuning in. And I don't know if Cam will be at TMLX 13, but he's been to TMLX events in the past, and it wouldn't surprise me. Once he finds out you're there, I think he'll be there.
Here's a guy, Cam Brio, who... you know, he was really committed to being like a secret guy when we first learned about him, right? He would like wear a mask. He would like disguise himself every which way. And then, you know, all these years later, he's like a beloved guy who's like just shows up and we know what he looks like. And he's completely evolved to become a a founding member of FOSS, but probably one of the most beloved FOTMs in your group. He's definitely participates.
He definitely participates. Absolutely. Do you know the name Steve Mathis?
How would I know Steve Mathis? That sounds really
Twitter,
familiar.
I feel as Pulp MX.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, I know Pulp MX. He's I think he's in Alberta. He's like the dirt bike king.
You know what? He sent me some parts for my bike when I was having trouble finding. The part didn't quite work, but he put in an amazing effort, and I really appreciate that, Steve.
Nah, he's a legend.
He says, "Please come home, Stu."
Yeah.
I think he's hoping if you spend more time in Toronto, that means you can come on Toronto Mike more often. Would you be willing to make regular appearances if you're in town?
Well, it sounds to me that, you're already sort of, this is, an unofficial audition to replace, your death episodes, because we've talked about like 4 or 5 deaths already. So maybe.
Because Weisblock quit those.
Yeah. Why did he quit?
His last, Ridley Funeral Home Memorial segment was in, I think it was.
Why would he quit?
December 2020. Okay, so
a lot changed for you at the end of 2022.
I know.
All these staples and regulars in this world,
you're right,
quit on you.
3 of the most frequent visitors, all kind of in a short period of time. I think Cam started it, and then you said, I have to go to the States and film this Vice program. And then Mark Weisblatt just asked me if he could pause. Now, in 2023, which we're now in mid-August.
The year's almost over. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. In 2023, you're making your first appearance right now. Mark Weisblatt has been over once, and Cam Gordon has been over 0 times, although apparently he's coming over in September. And I will announce to the world that Mark Weisblatt is returning. I believe he's coming over on September 7th. So before TMLX 13, Weisblatt will be in the hood, so he has no excuses. He has to come to Great Lakes Brewery after we have our chat. But yeah, it was kind of a strange coincidence that Cam, basically Twitter imploded, so Cam was fired like a lot of great people.
I wouldn't say fired so much as...
What do you not like about the word fired?
Because that implies that it wasn't needed.
Does it? To me, fired simply means that your employer says stop coming to work because I'm going to stop paying you.
Well, I don't know. That seems a little harsh, but I feel like the entire division in Canada was like cut loose.
Oh yeah, and there's no shame in that
so
game.
So it wasn't like just Cam was singled out like, you're fired.
See, we always soften these terms, but at the end of the day, basically, he got a note that said, stop coming to work. Your security pass won't work.
I don't even know if he got a note specifically to him. It was like a general email to everybody in the office.
So basically, that was his trigger to put the brakes on his Toronto Mike appearances. Mark Weisblatt, he just needed a little time to sort things out in his professional life because he talked about St. Joseph's Media was
What's going on with him now?
Well, the 1236 newsletter was a St. Joseph Media
I noticed that it stopped coming in my inbox.
I don't think he does it anymore. I haven't received it in 2023, I don't think. So he has to figure out some stuff professionally. He's still doing work with the Canadian Jewish News.
Good.
Absolutely. So.
Well, I'll tell you what.
And also, what do you think of this? He's got Ralph Ben-Murgy doing a podcast with Canadian Jewish News, and he's told Ralph to name the podcast Not That Kind of Rabbi. What do you think about this? Since Not That Kind of Rabbi was a podcast I was producing, it's on pause right now, but how do you feel about Weisblatt just taking that name for a Canadian Jewish News podcast?
Well, Weisblatt is definitely a heel.
Bit of a dick move, right?
So, this doesn't surprise me, but I will say that he is definitely one of my favorite foils. I do love the guy. I do love interacting with him. He definitely knows. He's a fountain of information, or a fountain of misinformation, as Cam might call him. But
are you guys going to meet up at the Pickle Barrel anytime soon?
I don't think so. I think that summit never really materialized.
Just like you and Monica are going to host the morning show in Kingston?
Well, that had a better shot, I think, than us going to the Pickle Barrel. But I do like Mark a lot, and I hope that he does return because, Mark and myself and Cam, these are 3 sort of big voices in your world.
You're all Hall of Famers. I have an amazing note just came in from VP of Sales. I'm sitting down. I can't believe this. This is your 90th appearance on Toronto Mike.
Wow.
90.
And people say I have commitment issues. 90 times I've been on this show.
That's 90 episodes. Wow. Cam Gordon, who's coming on again in September. I think he's worried you'll catch him. That'll be his 100th appearance on Toronto Mike. He's about to make his 100th appearance on Toronto Mike.
I would like to just point out that there's an asterisk on that. I feel like I have been hampered by you and Cam because
PPM.
like there's several of those appearances were episodes where I wasn't invited.
Right, progressive past.
So how is that my fault? I should be at a level. I should be at level 100. I should be in the Century Club as well. But you guys decided to do deep dives on bullshit without me.
Degrassi School Out.
Yeah. So
School's Out is
had
not
I been
bullshit.
invited, I would have been there.
Shout out to Andy. Mark Weisblatt's next appearance will be his 60th.
Yeah, so
These are all round numbers, okay? So you're 90, Cam's about to be 100, Weisblatt's about to be 60. That's a mind blow right there.
It is. That's a lot. And you're on like episode like 3060.
1,309. So, okay, just to finish that thought though, so we said thanks to Steve. Steve's hoping you'll make more regular appearances.
I will.
Do you know the name Chris Massey?
Chris Massey, yes.
He wrote me to say, ask Stu why he keeps ducking me for a rematch.
That's funny.
Tell me what that means.
Chris Massey was a referee, still is a referee, a wrestling referee, who I had a run-in with many moons ago where we ended up having like an over-the-top arm wrestling contest on television.
Really?
Which I may or may not have cheated to
What
win.
television?
In Los Angeles and in
a local
syndicated
station.
programming throughout the country.
Wow.
We had an arm wrestling match
What a life
which
you've had.
I may or may not have cheated to win. And he's been asking me for a rematch ever since, and I have not. I have not given him his rematch
Because you cheated and you'd have to cheat again.
But now that I'm hitting the treadmill, and now that I've got Leslie as my personal trainer,
Yeah.
things could change. I may not need to
Wow.
use nefarious ways to beat Chris Massey in an arm wrestling match. He's been looking, even we were set up to do the arm wrestle. He even turned his hat backwards, like over the top, Sylvester Stallone, and still.
Wow.
Cheating was took place.
Wow.
So fuck you, Chris Massey. I
Love
love
it.
you.
Xylin wrote in, I think it's Xylin, it's Xylin. Xylin says, does he still keep in touch with Ms. Frizzle?
Miss Frizzle, that would be the fictitious character, my teacher on the Magic School Bus. Miss
You were
Frizzle,
in the Magic School Bus?
played by Lily Tomlin, and later on in the reboot, not played by Lily Tomlin.
Did you ever meet Lily Tomlin?
I did.
I wasn't sure if you were like doing it in Toronto.
No,
and she was doing it in
we
LA.
may have even covered this on a previous visit,
Yeah,
but
probably.
I
But there's been
definitely
90 of them.
90 of them. But I definitely did meet Lily Tomlin. I had a recording, maybe twice.
Wow.
But I had a recording session with her, just me and her once, which was really awesome, and just as cool as you would imagine her to be.
Love it. I just picture her in a big chair.
And she even signed I have a Miss Frizzle like talking doll kind of gimmick that you could get, and she signed the doll like
Wow.
to Stewart, blah 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 blah. Your friend Lily Tomlin. She's an icon, and I did meet her. We don't keep in touch like we should, but maybe she'll be listening right now. And if she is listening, Lily, I'd love to see you again.
Maybe Lily will be at TMLX 13.
I can invite her right now.
You got any old tech, any old electronics at home that need to be disposed of, Stu?
I do.
You know what? I don't want to see you throwing that in the garbage and those chemicals ending up in our landfill. That's bullshit.
Always an angle with you, isn't there?
Go to recyclemyelectronics.ca. And then the good people at EPRA will tell you an accredited place near you where you can drop that off. Ian Service has done this recently. Do that. Remember, recyclemyelectronics.ca. You got it?
I mean, you've come a long way since the Barb Paluskovitz days.
I'm actually going to co-host a webinar with her next week.
Oh, tell her I say hello.
I will. Barb Paluskowicz. I don't think she'll be dressed as Elvira. Did you know Elvira was friends with Pee-wee Herman back in the day?
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, because I just remember seeing the photo recently with the late great Phil Hartman. See, everybody dies. Everybody dies, man. Fuck. Okay, we're going to get to a very important topic now. I feel like that was all the warm-up. The great Mike Grogotsky, who is absolutely going to be at TMLX 13 on September 7th because he told me
With bicycle gloves.
I hope he's in that Tour de France outfit he
Yes.
wears. I love it. Okay. Mike Grogotsky says, I miss Stu Stone. What is the plan for reprising the faking a murderer personas with Adam Rodness? Is it a sequel? Is it a prequel? Is it a different story altogether? And then he says, whatever it is will be terrific. How do you know, Mike? It could be shit.
Well, I'll tell you what. As announced in the trades,
I got that press release.
myself and Adam Rodness, the guys over at 5'7" Productions, also known as 5'7" Films, have struck up a deal with FOTM
David Kynes.
in Hollywood Suite to.
Did you know he sent me a big box full of stuff that he was throwing out.
Yeah, from his Much
Yeah,
days.
it was amazing.
He's the man. Yeah, so they've made a commitment to us. They like us. We like them. We're going to do more movies that they are going to put on their platform.
Hollywood Suite.
Yes. So we are going to be doing at least 2 more that I know of that are.
This is huge.
Yeah, that are in the same vein as Faking a Murder, where Adam and I
in that universe.
We're in that universe where Adam and I are. Those are the roles that Grogoksky is referring to.
May I ask you about an FOTM who was in that movie?
Sure.
Will Tony Napo be in your next movie?
It would be very difficult to do it without him, wouldn't it?
Well, yes. I mean, I'm asking because he and I are Facebook buddies, and Tony's had a rough year. I feel he's had a rough year. He's painting more houses than he is filming shit right now.
Well, it's true. And there are highs and lows when it comes to having an acting career, as I could tell you more than anybody.
Right.
That's why I made the shift to create my own opportunities, and I've never looked back. But Tony is a brilliant guy, and I'm sure he'll be okay in the end. But it's difficult. It's difficult. A guy like Tony, who has such a prolific career, who has hundreds of credits, you've seen him everywhere. He's cashed hundreds of paychecks. Is still having to find a way to, keep his sanity and probably bring in a couple bucks. Doing the painting.
Yep.
I don't know if his Yelp reviews of his painting are very good. I'm just kidding, Tony. But, Tony's the man, and I feel like he's going to be okay. And if there's an opportunity for me to have Tony Napo appear in one of our films, we're going to always do it.
Okay, let's get specific, okay? So, yes, you've got a commitment from David Kynes and the good people at Hollywood Suite that they want more 5'7" film activity. So the last movie you guys did was Bandits.
Yes.
The movie before that was Faking a Murderer.
Correct.
This new movie is absolutely is it a sequel?
I would call it a sequel to Faking a Murderer, but I would call it a sequel in the way that it's like Abbott and Costello go to space. Abbott and Costello versus the Mummy. Like it's just like another adventure with 2 knuckleheads starting from the beginning again.
Did you know Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom was a prequel to Raiders of the Lost Ark?
I did not know that.
People forget that. Yeah, it's a prequel because they didn't want to make the Nazis the enemy again. So Steven Spielberg made it a prequel. So he just felt like he had done the Nazi thing. But I just think that's a fun fact because people think it's a sequel. It's a prequel.
This is going to be just like another story. Another adventure or misadventure. We're going to be filming it this October.
Where?
In Winnipeg again.
Tax credits?
Obviously. I will also say that I'm just going to tell you this now, Mike.
Is this breaking news?
You know that our gear got stolen last time we were there.
Bandits.
And we got all this news coverage for it.
Yeah.
There is an opportunity for us to utilize that story in this movie. So why not lean into it? We'll see if that ends up happening.
If your van gets stolen again, I'm going to call bullshit on it. Okay?
I'm not saying it'll get stolen again, but maybe like we just allude to the fact that the van was stolen and like use that as part of this. But no, we will be filming in Winnipeg in October.
Wow.
And I'm very excited for it. It's going to be quite an adventure. It'll be Adam and myself as ourselves.
Sure.
Going out on another adventure.
Have you hired any actors yet?
No.
Okay. Will we see familiar faces?
Yes.
From the universe. What's the name of your universe?
The 5'7" universe.
The 5'7" universe.
Yes, you will. At least 2 that I can think of off the top of my head. Maybe 3 now that I'm thinking about it. There'll be 3 people that have appeared in previous productions that will be appearing in
outside of you and Adam. Now, are any of those 3 people FOTMs?
One of them is
Jesse Camacho.
No.
Tony Napo.
Probably.
Okay, I'm trying to help. Case. Does Tony know yet?
Probably.
Have you talked to Tony yet?
It's not officially no, but I know that like once we not lock it down, Tony will be. We've got something for Tony to do if he wants to. Put it that way.
I got to look out for the FOTM.
It's tough though because Tony was like killed in the Faking a Murder movie. So how do you bring him back? You know what I mean? You got to be creative about it, and you can't do a prequel with his character because we will have met him already in
Right. No, you make a good point.
So how do you utilize someone like Tony Napo who died in the first film?
He's got to have a twin brother.
So we got to figure that out, and I think that we've come up with some ideas. But yes, it's a whole other adventure. And the big news, which I'll tell you exclusively, Mike, but hopefully people keep it to themselves.
Am I in this?
Is that the film is already been picked up by Kevin Hart's company, Heartbeat Entertainment. So Kevin Hart will be the executive producer of said film.
That's fucking ridiculous.
And that's going to be a plot point in the film that I've just spoiled.
5'7", Kevin Hart?
He's tall enough to qualify for sure. If he's not 5'7", he may as well be. No, he's not. So that's great.
He's got to wear lifts.
But Kevin Hart's company saw
congratulations, Stu Stone.
Yeah, it's huge. It's absolutely huge. It's massive. And that will be a plot point in the film. So that's a spoiler I hope people forget.
So he'll make a cameo.
Hopefully.
Possibly. Will Jan Arden make a cameo?
I don't think so. There's a better shot of her being on this podcast.
Well, neither are going to happen. Okay. Can we address that? Because this is all stuff that happened after your last appearance on Toronto Mike. So you introduced me to somebody who was helping with PR for Bandits.
Yep.
And in that conversation with that person, and I keep all my emails, I keep my receipts, it was all but a sure thing. It was like we were just what time, whatever, I was going to...
But then it didn't happen.
As Jan Arden was going to come on Toronto Mike. I even went to Twitter and said, coming soon to Toronto Mike, Jan Arden. Jan...
She didn't know because she didn't know.
Like she is, but I wrote that tweet in good faith because I was told by this person we won't name.
But that person didn't speak to Jen, so that's
that. So that's where I feel like I got a little bit railroaded here. That I didn't know this person was just assuming.
I think everybody had good intentions, and I feel like we should just accept it for what it is.
It was just fine. I don't need Jan Arden on Toronto Mike.
Well,
I just
it would
felt
be nice
bad that I promoted it, and and then I felt like she kind of embarrassed me a little bit when she did the public. Who are you? Like she basically gave me what Joey Bats did to Steve Simmons, right? Like,
wow.
Who is this? Who is this person who's claiming I'm coming on their podcast? I've never heard of you. Although I did.
She didn't say any of those words. No. You're definitely. I'm
reading into it.
Yeah, she just said, "Huh," or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Question marks, huh?
But I'll say this: if it's meant to be, Jan will come on your show. I don't know what happened there. There's obviously a disconnect. I'm sorry that happened to you. I know Jan is a lovely person, and if she knew you, she would for sure join the show.
Don't you think she'd be good on this show?
Of course she would. Anybody would, and I'm pretty sure that there'll come a time when she will be on this show, and you'll be able to laugh all about this. I love Jan, and I think you should continue
Jan's
to
a national treasure. Like,
it's not her fault.
She's very funny. She's got a lot of big hit songs.
It's not her fault that happened.
No, she was never told she's coming on Toronto Mike, but then it never did happen. So it's one of those things where she does the and then I feel too sheepish to actually like push for it because I was already told that we're going to make it happen in this.
Listen, Mike,
it never happened.
You're in this business. There's going to be times when this is going to happen to you. Even a guy with a prolific podcasting career like yourself, who's been the cover boy of the Toronto Star fold out section. Which was I think it was in the process of being framed.
Well, take a look.
There it is. It's framed there in the back there.
Fuck it. I'm a big deal in this town.
You are a big deal in this town. She's not from Toronto. She doesn't live in Toronto, so she doesn't know how amazing you are.
And I did produce her for an episode of Mary Jo Eustace's podcast.
There you go.
Senior Bitches.
And what happened with that podcast?
So, well, what's his face?
Now that's what you're calling him? What's his face? You used to love that guy.
Well, then there's a whole shitstorm went down, and I was dragged through the pages of people.com. You know what that's like, okay? When the tabloids get a hold of you. So Mary Jo and I decided to go on without him, and we rebranded the show, and the show is now called Senior Bitches, and it's no longer includes him. It's just Mary Jo Eustace and a guest like David Furnish or the aforementioned Jan Arden, and it's very good because Mary Jo is very good at what she does. Mary Jo is very good at what she does.
But Mary Jo and what's his name?
Dean McDermott, we can call him by his name.
They're no longer friends.
They won't even know. In fact, she was worried that Dean would come to Lola's graduation, and she was like, I got to stay on the other side of the room. I don't want to see this guy. I don't want to talk to this guy. But he did not show to that graduation, so it became a moot point. But no, Dean and Mary Jo do not speak at all anymore.
Dude, that was a recipe for disaster from the beginning. Like, who would have thought, exes getting together to do a podcast would end up blowing up in your face?
Can they be friends?
No, they can't.
The answer is no.
No.
But, I still have...
And Mary's a lovely woman, and Dean is a good guy. On their own, independent of one another, they're probably a good hang.
Why could they not be friends? Because for that 3.5 months I worked with them, they were super friendly.
Because it just doesn't work like that, Mike. It just
Are you
doesn't.
friends of any of your exes, Stu?
No. Friendly.
Friendly and civil. Okay. Well, there's your update on Mary Jo. I don't have a relationship with Dean McDermott anymore.
But you're still podcasting with her.
Yeah, absolutely. Still an active, great show, and love doing that with Mary Jo. We were chatting that day because the radio.
Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, there's a radio station in Toronto called Proud FM.
Oh yeah, they went under according to your update.
I'm the only source for this, but it's true. They have confirmed it. But I got that early. 103.9 is Proud FM, and for a short period of time, the morning show was Mary Jo Eustace and Ken Kostick. Ken, shout out to Ridley Funeral Home, is no longer with us. But Mary Jo, that's how I met Mary Jo, because her program director at Proud FM.
Oh yeah, she did the morning show
Bingo
there.
Bob Willett. And the morning show was called What's for Breakfast because she had a popular show called What's for Dinner with Ken. Okay. So Mary Jo was at Proud FM. Bob Willett was at Proud FM. Neither members of the community, actually. So I'm going to have a program
False flag.
with Mary Jo and Bob Willett and a member of the community who was on Proud FM. We're going to do a little Zoom chat soon to discuss Proud FM because it is going to be silenced at the end of the month. So in September, when you tune in 103.9 to hear Proud FM, you're going to hear silence.
They're not replacing it with a different format?
Nothing. They're going to shut down
So why don't we buy it and just put your episodes of your show on?
Well, it depends. It
just
costs,
can't have Fergie Oliver saying what he says.
Fergie Oliver, cocksucker.
You can't have him on that station. But what is the what's the plan there? So it's just going to be dead air.
Going to be dead air. They're going to turn off the
How
station.
much would it cost to buy that?
I don't know. I don't think they even listed it for sale. Now, Evanov Communications owns that station. They also own 103.5. They literally have their studio on Dundas here in Etobicoke, near 6 Points or something like that. So they have decided that they're going to put all their energy into 103.5, Z103, rather than this lost. They didn't have any money, I guess, in 103.9. It was a terrible signal, but they've given up on it. I guess they kept on to it thinking they could parlay.
It's kind of interesting because I feel like it's where we are right now in the history of our lives, the community, as you refer to it, has never been more mainstream. It's not a closeted thing anymore. It's like out and proud and loud. And it's shocking to me that they would close that down in the midst of probably one of the greatest periods in the history for people in the community to be not hiding and be loud and proud. It's shocking to me, actually, that they're closing that down. And it feels like there will be a void that should be filled because there is definitely an audience for a format like that. Obviously, they weren't doing a great job finding that audience.
Well, let's go to Evanov Communications and find out what they want for it. Maybe we do get this.
Yeah, maybe we do it.
But before we buy it, let me just tell you, Mary Jo said she knew the station was in trouble when she could not get it from the parking lot outside the building.
Well, that's a problem.
The signal is shit. I think that's the biggest problem with the 103.9 signal. But it's going silent. All this is to say that I was chatting with Mary Jo this week all about her time at Proud FM and about this episode we're going to do with Bingo Bob and someone else.
Well, I don't think she knows me personally because I feel like when I was friendly with Dean, he had already been divorced at that point or was getting divorced at that point.
Right. He was with Tori Spelling.
Yeah, but this was before he was with Tori.
But there is no, that's the thing.
There's no gap there.
There's no gap.
Well, there is a gap because they had
he goes and shoots a movie and has the affair.
Yeah, in Ottawa or something like that.
And he comes home and tells Mary, I can't on vacation. This
right.
story
So maybe he was with her, but my experience, maybe I saw her a few times like showing up at the house to pick up Dean to go out somewhere or whatever we were doing back then.
Right.
But I always thought that she was a lovely person. She was always very nice in my few interactions, but limited interactions. But if I did see her again, I would certainly love to say hello and tell her how excited I am for her podcast with you.
You're a sweetheart, Stu Stone. How did Vandits do? Was David, obviously he signed you up for a couple more flicks, so he must have been happy with it.
I think he's happy with it, I would hope. I think that it's much like Proud FM. It's a very tough thing to build an audience when you're a Canadian broadcaster, of whether it be on the radio or whether it be on television. There's a lot more competition than there used to be, especially for people's ears and eyes. In the radio world, Sirius XM and podcasts like yours definitely draw attention away from the terrestrial airwaves, so to speak. And I think the same can be said for television stations. Hollywood Suite is a fantastic platform that you would be shocked with how many great movies you can watch through Hollywood Suite, not just mine, but like classics from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, whatever.
And it's easy to subscribe. You can do it through Prime. That's how I do it.
By the way, you could get it. You could sign up for a free month through Prime and just enjoy the hell out of it. But I will say that it's cheaper to join Hollywood Suite than it is to go digitally rent a movie or whatever.
Right.
But I think Hollywood Suite is such a fantastic organization. The staff that works there are very easy to collaborate with. They're so cool, and they sponsor really cool events in the city. They're very much a part of the community, not just the...
Are they pillars of the community?
I would say like they're pillars of the community in a lot of ways, maybe not under the branding of Hollywood Suite, but David Kynes for sure, a pillar of the community from his days back at Much, and I know a lot of the other folks that are at Hollywood Suite used to work at Much or Chum, some of them at Vice even. It's a really cool crew that they've got there, and I'm rooting for their success, obviously. And I think that, everybody should be rooting for the success of any of these sort of Canadian broadcasters, because without them, there's no us. It's literally, there's 3 places for me to sell a movie or to get a movie. I'll give you some inside baseball here.
Yeah, please.
If I want to make a movie, Mike, and I don't have Tony D'Angelo's connections...
It's Frank.
You know who I'm talking about. I don't want to say his name. I don't want to say his name because I don't want to get mixed up with all that. But
his money line is dead. He was murdered.
Shout out to Ridley Funeral Home.
Barry Sherman, Honey Sherman, rest in peace.
But my point is, if you don't have that bankroll, how do you get your movies made? Well, you need a broadcaster to get. There's a domino effect here. You need to have a broadcaster in order to get tax credits. You need to have a broadcaster.
So in order to get the tax credits, you need to have the funding?
You need to have a sale to a broadcaster. They're not going to you're not going to qualify for a tax.
You can't be an independent filmmaker and get the tax credits until you have the...
Well, certain tax credits, yes. Like the good ones. Yes. You need to have a broadcast.
But then the rich get richer, so to speak. Like if you didn't have, let's say you don't have the support of Hollywood Suite, how do you get your movies made?
Well, that's the thing. Thank God for Hollywood Suite, right? So there's
you said there's only like 3 places you can go.
CBC.
Right.
You've got Crave.
Bell Media.
Yeah. You've got, now there's a Paramount Plus has a Canadian division. Netflix has a Canadian division, but they're not like handing out licenses like hotcakes. And you've got, I guess, Global, like Shaw. Is that still a thing?
I don't know. I know Chorus keeps threatening to buy it.
Chorus. There's not many places to go is my point. It's not like the States where there's like 100 different places to go. So if you can make friends and fans of one of those broadcasters, that really puts you in the driver's seat. Luckily for Adam and myself, Hollywood Suite has been that place for us. They've been our champions. And so I champion them for sure. And we're not the only ones that they support, believe me. But we're certainly the loudest ones.
For what it's worth, David and I are friendly enough that he'll send me boxes of stuff, and I think he listens, and he seems to support this program. Every chance I get, I tell David Kynes that you, my friend, are a tremendous filmmaker, and your movies rock. And I don't just say that because Kareem loves your movies. I tell you
and
that.
And Kareem doesn't live next door anymore.
Not in. I don't think he's lived here in 2023. What a year of changes for me. Kareem's gone.
What happened to him?
I'm not gonna say, actually. I'll tell you.
That's very unlike you.
I'll tell you.
That's unlike you to not air someone's dirty laundry on your show.
You don't actually. The real dirty laundry does not get aired on Toronto Mike. You just don't know because I don't air it. So how would you know? You don't know what you don't know. But regardless, he's a big fan of the Stu Stone films. That's you and Adam. I don't mean to disrespect Adam. He's never been on Toronto Mike, so he's like out of sight, out of mind. And you're the guy who's been on 90 times. So
yes. But yeah, Kareem has great taste. In Hollywood.
And Joe Louis is the guy who he's going to be at TMLX 7 for sure. Joe Louis.
And me and him we made up.
Yeah, you made up, and he always had his tongue in his cheek on that one. But he has a love. He loves to hate you, but he really does love you.
Of course,
he's a big booster.
And the feeling is mutual.
And Liz Brio, I don't know if she'll be at TMLX 13, but I'm
more of a Cam Brio fan than a Liz Brio fan.
I just realized that it's different spelling, I'll tell you, but the same last names if you hear it. Okay, I never put those two things. And shout out to Bill Brio, who's a good FOTM, and he writes about television. Shout out to Bill Brio. All right.
Are you running out of guests yet?
No, I mean, I'm just warming up. I just had, first time he's visited, Neil Osborne
Isn't
from
that crazy?
5440 was here yesterday. Paul Langlois was here few weeks ago.
And how was that?
I mean, he brought his guitar and he played, and he was unbelievable.
That's really cool.
I think he even had a great time. But no, for
I remember.
You know who just came over? You ready? You're sitting down?
Yeah.
Harold Hossein just dropped
Yeah,
by.
I heard.
He hasn't been anywhere.
Hurricane Harold.
Think about that. Just sit back and say, hey, I'm sitting in the Harold Hossein, 83 years old.
What did he have to say?
He's never talked about his career. We had to talk about why did he come to Canada from Trinidad? Why did he become a meteorologist? How did he end up on
Well, we know why, because of his looks.
We had to find out what a kilopascal is, right? We had to talk about some of the greats.
Harold Hussein told us our weather for so many years. And I would say that Harold Hussein was also like, as a school, when I was a school attendee back in those days, a student, is that what they call those?
A student, fucking.
When I was a school
attendee.
When I was a student.
Student, yeah, because as my son once said,
student.
We have a camera and a microphone in the studio.
There you go.
Mic, Stu.
When I was a student, I would rely on Mr. Hussein to tell us school's canceled tomorrow because of weather, and sometimes he would give us that good news.
Was it Brother Bill? And you might have been in LA for this time, but I feel like somebody on CFNY would always call him Harold Insane. Or maybe that was Jesse and Jean. Like I could be. So if you know who on Toronto radio, and it's either 102 or 107, it was one of those two, or wherever Jesse and Jean were, whoever was calling him Howard Insane, let me know.
Speaking of...
Good. You finish that thought, and then I'll answer
Humble
your question.
and Fred, are they still part of your life?
Yeah, absolutely. I still produce their program.
Great.
Still going strong. When you have the new movie coming out, I promise to put you on the show to talk about it.
I love waking up at 8 a.m. to talk to those guys.
Well, 8:15. I don't know about Adam, though. I feel like we'll just do Stu. Is that okay? He's
Fine
not
with
listening.
me.
He's not listening.
No.
Okay. All right, because I just think you and Howard have a better jam there.
Yeah.
I would like to play a song and then tell you a fun fact about it. You ready?
Sure.
And you can sing along if you like, Stu.
I mean, how are we going to be able to top this if I come back? Is this like loose format if I ever,
Just in case you kick the bucket.
Home, take me with you. Take me home.
Fucking right.
Take a part of me. Take all of me.
But isn't it actually not him singing?
No, so this song was credited to Hayden.
But it's actually Noah.
That's Noah Mintz from Thornley,
Yeah.
your alma mater.
Yeah.
So
Was Noah on this show?
yes, Noah was great on the show because you got to tune in for the Giongo Meshi stories. Like it's
Oh,
unbelievable.
yeah,
There's
yeah.
a lot of
He
Thornley
hates him.
chat. Hates him, and it's quite something.
He's told me that before.
You'll love it. Okay, so here's my fun fact, mind blow for you, because I know you're out of the loop here. You didn't even know about my blood clot on the brain, for God's sakes. So we're listening to Hayden's take, of course, but Hayden is not the singer on this song. It's, as you said, Noah Mintz, which was fun when you discover that, actually. But why am I playing this? Because in your first appearance, we played this and sang along to this, I believe. That's a memory I have, and if it wasn't you, who the hell was it? But I'm playing it because, you ready for mind blow?
Yeah.
My third born, Jarvis, plays soccer at High Park, and every week he plays soccer. On his team is the son of Hayden Desser.
Wow.
Which means on Wednesday nights from 6 to 7 p.m.,
You're friends with
I
Hayden
hang
now.
out with my good buddy Hayden, who, when we took our first selfie together and I said, hey, I'm Mike, I broadcast as Toronto Mike, he said, I heard the Noah Mintz episode and I loved it. And he's going to come on the show. But I'm now friends. This guy who
That's
I've been
amazing.
listening to since 1993 or
Dude,
whatever the fuck that
that's
was,
so sick.
is now my bud because his son plays soccer with my
For
son.
people who are only listening to this, you are not privy to see my beautiful smile and the smile that I have on my face to hear that. I love it.
that a mind blow?
Hayden is literally, one of the unsung heroes of Canadian folklore in the music world. Hey, there they are. I'm excited that Hayden will be on here. Hopefully he brings a guitar.
I'm going to make him bring a fucking guitar. He kind of stole my hair. I'm not sure if he stole my hair, if I stole his hair, but we have similar
I feel like he
things
plays
going on.
Massey Hall every now and then.
Yeah, for the Dream Serenade,
Yeah.
because he has a special needs daughter, and they raise funds for neuroatypical people on the spectrum, and it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing.
There was a Toto concert in Toronto while I was gone. I didn't go to it because I was on the road, but it was Toto and Journey played the Scotiabank Center. I wonder if anybody went.
I'm sure somebody went. Who's in Toto these days?
Well, not all of them. Basically, Steve Lukather and Joseph Williams are the two longest tenured guys, and then the rest is sort of just all-stars.
Even Journey's got the gentleman of Filipino descent.
That guy's been in the band longer than Steve Perry's was in the band.
It's like how Gowan's your lead singer for Styx.
Gowan's going to be playing in November at Massey Hall. November 30th,
do you know he's
I
in
think.
FOTM now?
Is he?
Yeah.
That's great. And did you ask him if his song was ever played on CFMY? No, you probably didn't.
No, are you new? It was like the most important fucking thing on my list.
And what did he say?
I can't remember the answer right now, but 100% I mentioned you, and I
he
talked
for sure
about the
said that it
discussion.
was played.
I got to go back to the archives. I'll pull it for your next appearance. Okay, so is there anything else? Because you're right, I did kind of drain the swamp, but there's always something I want to talk to Stu Stone about.
No, I don't think we've even scratched the surface, Mike, and we just spent 2 hours yapping. I think we have about 5 more minutes left.
The brother says, great meeting you at the Budweiser stage a couple of weeks ago for the Hojo show. That rhymes.
Yes.
Thanks for keeping your word and returning to the podcast. I guess, is the brother who said to you, get your ass back on Toronto Mike?
And if I make a promise to the brother, I keep that promise. And I did.
Al the Royal Pain knows a couple of people who attended a Tony Napo acting class, and they rave about it.
I would imagine, because he's a fantastic talent. Yeah, Mike, listen, man. Always a pleasure, and we don't have to wait a year to do this again.
Well, this is all on you. I would have had you back the next week.
No, I could probably do this again before I go to Winnipeg if your schedule allots time for it. Otherwise, November would be the next available booking that I could come back here.
Well, let's do this. Baby steps. Let's do this. Let's trust the process, as you once said on Twitter. I will have Cam Gordon.
Yeah, let's see.
Here next month. Cam's got to explain his absence, okay, and then we have to feel it out. Would you be open to a reunion of the classic Toast lineup? So I'm not going to get rid of the current Toast. They're great. But I would love to have a concurrent
what you could
Toast
do
lineup.
instead of, you could just call it like a Pandemic Friday reunion, and then it's not like infringing on the Toast guys, because I feel like they've been in the band longer than Steve Perry too.
You're fucking right. Let's not even call it Toast. Let's bring back Pandemic Fridays. And we'll keep Toast going with Rob Pruce and Bob Willett, because it's fucking great. We're kicking out Angel Jams next month.
Jeff Healy, shout out.
The Angel Eyes. Love Jeff Healy, who I might be related to. Let's bring back Pandemic Fridays.
How do you talk to an angel?
Do you know that's one of... Okay, here, a little trivia for you. How many TV theme shows went to number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100? I believe... Okay, I'll tell you.
I can think of a few. Let's go through it real quick.
I think there's only 3.
Greatest American Hero.
Never went to number 1.
You sure?
Yeah.
The Friends theme?
Never went to number 1.
Really?
Right.
You're saying that with such confidence.
Yeah.
You're positive of that?
Yeah.
So you're saying like The Heights?
Yes, that went to number 1. So The Height, that's one of them. The Heights was a TV theme song that went to number 1. There's 2 more songs that went to number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 that are TV theme songs. Can you name it?
Yeah. I think I can if I really put some thought into it.
We've heard one on this podcast.
Welcome Back, Kotter was number 1?
Welcome Back went to number 1.
Really?
Yeah. There's one more. It's from the 80s.
WKRP in Cincinnati? No.
No. It's a good guess.
Fame?
It's a good guess. That's a good guess.
Fame never went to number 1?
To number 1. I hope this shit's right. It's all in my brain, which is fucking addled.
Well, you do have a blood clot.
I have brain damage. But I believe the Miami Vice theme.
Good old Jan Hammer.
Yes! Stu Stone, it's like no time had passed at all. I fucking love you on Toronto Mike, and I love you, and I love Trudy.
I love you too,
and
yes.
I honestly teared up. I was about to cry. Aunt Sandy, who I never met, was such a fixture on this program.
I know.
And I know how close you are with her, and I know how much you love talking about her. And the fact that you're not going to be able to go to Vegas or take her out to lunch, it breaks
sad.
my heart.
Mine
and
too.
I'm so sorry for your loss.
Thank you very much. And to all the people listening right now who made it through 2 hours of me and Mike yammering, I thank you for your patience. And in my return, I'm here. I did not forget about you. I love to all of you. You've always been so great to me, Mike, and obviously the listeners have been supportive of all of my career endeavors. I hope to continue to impress you guys with some more great content. Watch Dark Side of the Ring Season 4 on Crave. It's really good. The Marty Jannetty episode, really good stuff. And I'll be back again soon, Mike. And that.
Before I do that, Al Grego is going to add, I have brain damage to the Toronto Mike bingo card. What took you so long, Al? But Al, let's get your fucking best of episode in the can here first. When did I finish?
Well, now I can actually qualify for a best of because I'm not on with Cam.
Right, but it won't be the next one. It'll be the one after.
And that. And that.
Brings us to the end of our 1,309th show. You can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Toronto Mike.
On X.
Fuck X. Stu is at Stu Stone.
Yes.
Our friends at Great Lakes Brewery are at Great Lakes Beer. Palma Pasta's at Palma Pasta. Getting Hip to the Hip is at Getting Hip Pod. Get those tickets now. September 1st is coming quickly. Recycle My Electronics are at EPRA_Canada. Pumpkins After Dark, they're at Pumpkins Dark. Save that 15%, man. That's a great event in Milton. And Ridley Funeral Home are at Ridley FH. Going to my calendar. See you Monday when my special guest is Jane Siberry.
Wow. That's a get.
See you all then.
The class struggle explodes, and I play this guitar just the best that I can.